Hey everyone. Welcome to the EasterPod. I'm your host, Corey Easterday, and we are back. The EasterPod is back. This is our unofficial Season 2 kickoff, and we have a lot of great guests coming on the pod, so I'm just really excited to be back in the studio bringing you new conversations. I am now recording out of the wonderful Huga Co-working Podcast Studio in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I'm also very much looking forward to sitting down in person with more local guests and using everything the studio offers to take my podcasting game to the next level. Before we dive in, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening and for all of your support. I've received a lot of positive feedback from so many of you, and it truly means a lot. If you're new to the show or it's been a while since you listened, my ultimate goal in hosting this podcast is to bring you guests, insights, and topics that entertain, inspire, and help you aspire to engage the world in a creative and hopeful manner. We've had a great run of episodes to this point, talking with a wide variety of guests, so I really encourage you to go back through and listen to our previous episodes. Now, for this episode, I could think of no better way to kick off a new season than to have my extremely talented wife, Megan Easterday, on the show to talk about her work as an entrepreneur and photographer with Easterday Creative. We had a great conversation, and I really think you'll enjoy hearing all the wisdom and insight that she has to offer throughout the episode. Be sure to follow the show on social media at the EasterPod. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and if you like what you hear, you can always help the show by subscribing and leaving a rating and review. Big shout out before we get into this episode. Got to give a big shout out to the band Speak Seldom and my friend Corey Easterday for providing the music. We have some cool surprises with that coming up in the near future, so stay tuned. And also have to shout out my new friend, JD Laird of Laird Creative Agency, for helping to produce this episode and making it possible for me to work on this show again and put out more consistent content to you as we go forward. So obviously, of course, check out Easterday Creative on social media at Easterday Creative and visit the website easterdaycreative.com. Without further ado, my conversation with Megan Easterday. So, one of the things I like to do on the EasterPod is serve as a sort of hype man, if you will, for each of my guests. And, well, quite frankly, our guest today objectively deserves the most hype of anyone I will ever have on the podcast, with all apologies to former and future guests, because she is the one and only, the extremely talented, effervescent, whatever that means. I looked it up, still don't fully understand it. She is wonderful, beautiful, all around amazing. Megan Easterday, my wife and owner of Easterday Creative. Welcome back to the EasterPod. How are you doing today?
Hello there, Mr. Easterday. Happy almost Easter. I wanted to get that in before anyone else of our friends could do that for us. I figured after almost 9 years together, I needed to make the joke once, and it's going to be on this podcast. I'm fine. It's Friday, so, it's a good Friday. If you will.
This is why we work so well together, and why we are married and thriving after almost 8 years of marriage together, because you make lovely, ridiculous puns, and that is the quickest way to my heart. You're 100% right. We have to get as much mileage, I believe, out of our last name as humanly possible, because it is almost Easter. We are the Easterdays. It is Friday that we are recording. It's a good Friday, quite literally. I love it. That's great. And I know that we're married, but I really do want to thank you for coming on and being a guest. Both of us have low-key anxiety when it comes to recording and doing this and putting our voices on air, putting our conversation out there. But I'm having a lot of fun so far, and I'm super glad we get to do this together. And you are my first ever return guest, which obviously makes a lot of sense. A, because you're my wife and, easily the best guest I'll ever have on. B, you were the first guest I ever had in the history of this podcast. And that was that was over 2 years ago now, which is crazy to think about. So,
and we did it in my parents' dining room.
We did it. We recorded in your parents' dining room.
Because it was the quietest place that we had available to us.
I purchased equipment. I didn't have the great studio at Huga J Street that we're using currently, the co-working space here in Charlotte. So you've been around since the beginning. I mean, quite literally in a number of ways. So all that to say, it only felt right to have you back on to kick off a new run of episodes. So for those who may be unaware, and before we get too into it, we must add objectively hilarious and funny to your adjectives at the beginning of the show based on all your puns. You are a delight and hilarious.
I appreciate that. I only do it to make you and people I care about laugh. I like to imagine I could be a stand-up comic, but that's just, me daydreaming, thinking I could actually be that funny.
Well, one of our favorite shows is Saturday Night Live. I think in part because we both like to envision ourselves in that space, doing that kind of comedy. So before people think I just brought you on so that I could earn brownie points and shower you with a million compliments, let's get into the meat of this. So for those who may be unaware, can you give us just a brief overview of what Easterday Creative is and your role within the business?
Sure. Easterday Creative, we started, because technically you are half owner, you are 50% on when we started this. It started back in 2016. I had originally had the idea of wanting to have basically a multimedia type company available to, use the skills that I learned from college with my public relations and marketing degree. So I thought it was going to be, photography, graphic design, which I did for a little while there, marketing for businesses, but it ended up kind of leaning more heavily on the photography side of things. So I, was working more with weddings and families and couples at the time. As it has progressed, now that we've been in Charlotte for a few years, I've found that I really, although I still do enjoy working with, the couples that we've gotten to work with, and I'm excited to work with them again this year, I've been really loving doing branding photography, commercial photography. I work with a lot of interior designers. So Easterday Creative, has morphed as a business does over the years. It is very solidly photography based, other than, what you do with your Google ads and things like that. But yeah, it's focused more on that side of things. And it's been fun because I've got to meet a lot of great creatives in the area just because of this business. So I like to be a connector, and I think that one of the main goals of Easterday Creative is to be a connector as well. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I just rambled a lot.
You didn't ramble at all. That was a great, eloquent answer that perfectly describes your journey and how things kind of started and where you're at now, what it is, what Easterday Creative is all about. I love what you said about being a connector, because I see that in what you do and in your work, that you're able to, and I'd say for both of us, honestly, that, we're just able to be friends with lots of different people and network and help people meet each other. And just, I love getting to be on this journey with you and seeing how you've been able to put yourself out there, more especially in the Charlotte community since we moved, and make connections, make new friends. It's kind of just a running theme in our household that, because I work remotely a lot, I work from home a lot, and you've been more out there doing photos and stuff. So you'll just kind of come to me and say, oh, by the way, we're going to hang out with such and such, and kind of.
It's funny you say that. Mom and Dad, my parents, used to not make fun of me, but they have an ongoing joke for the majority of my life that anytime I would come back from my first day of school, I'd go there being really nervous because I am introverted, but I love people and I want to make friends. And I was always concerned that I was not going to make any friends. And I would always inevitably come home from that first day of school or first day of whatever activity I was starting and say, Mom, I made a friend. Dad, I made a new friend. And so when you say that, it made me think of that. That is something that I have done pretty frequently the last few years since living down here because, like you said, I have a more forward-facing job where I have to be out and about meeting people because, my camera, I'm sticking in their faces. So I would come home and be like, yeah, I made a new friend. And shout out to all the friends that I've made just simply because of photographing you first. I promise that's not the only reason why I do this job. But I mean, let's be honest, it's hard to make friends in your 30s. So it kind of helps.
Yeah, and hey, I'm not complaining. I benefit greatly from that. So I echo that shout out to everyone out there that has accepted me as part of the crew, because people joke a lot about their spouses, that their spouse is their better half. I think it's especially true in my case. So
no. We balance each other out very well, because if you were not around, I could easily just go off the rails and vice versa. So I think that in any sort of social situation, we help each other not show our anxious moments, because they're there below the surface.
I don't know what you're talking about. We are both supremely confident, cool, calm, and collected individuals. So
I'm up here acting right now. This is not uncomfortable for me talking about myself.
Acting. There you go. We'll be here all night, folks.
Hopefully not.
Tip your waitstaff. All right. So kind of honing in a little bit on, because Easterday Creative is 6 years old now, which is just incredible to think about. So the last time we recorded was February of 2020, which, for obvious reasons, a million different things have happened since then. That's kind of a crazy benchmark for that to have been the last time we spoke. The world has changed drastically. So my question is, just focusing in on the last 2 years since February of 2020, how has Easterday Creative evolved over that time frame?
That's a great question. Like I said, just kind of introducing Easterday Creative, it went from being focused on families and weddings to more focused on working with small businesses and brands. And it's evolved from being it's been me, right? It's been me, and you have supported me. You've come in second shot for me at weddings. You've assisted me on shoots that I've needed help on, especially when I've, inevitably injured myself, because I'm fragile, according to you. And I am. It's true. I am. I'm very fragile, and that's okay. But, it went from being me, and now I'm at this point of growth that I didn't think would happen, or I dreamt that it would happen. But, as a small business owner, you can only dream so much. And, external circumstances, no matter how hard you work, can affect how your business either thrives or, fizzles out. And I've been pretty fortunate that even through a pandemic, through moving to a new state, having to make brand new connections with people, Easterday Creative has somehow rooted itself in the Charlotte community, which I'm so grateful for. I'm grateful for the people who continue to support and hire me and trust me to capture their story. I'm now finding myself thinking I'm going to actually hire somebody to help me this year, because I'm at the point where I can't do it on my own. And I think every small business, that makes it past that 5-year, 6-year mark starts to find themselves in that vicinity of, okay, how does this business grow without completely and utterly destroying my mental, physical health, helping balance, family life? Because, there's been times with you where we literally work from home together, other than when I'm out, photographing, and we've been so busy. We are just in passing. It's like, oh, hey, how's it going? Good morning. And then back to the grind. And I don't feel like that. No, I not just feel, I know that's not sustainable, because I've had those moments where I overwork and overdo it, and then, burn out. And if you are constantly burning yourself out, your business is not going to survive. So yeah, I see it evolving to hiring more people, outsourcing some things that, maybe I don't need to be doing myself, like, hiring a bookkeeper. Most photographers don't love working on that stuff. And shout out to any of you that are good at it, but I am not that person. So finding ways to grow the business, not relying on yourself, is going to be important. I see how that can actually transform, where the direction of this business is going.
Which segues perfectly kind of into my follow-up question to that, just about, so how's the business evolved over the last couple years? So you talked about it a little bit in your answer, but can you describe more, kind of in more detail about, so just for you as a person, Megan Easterday, the person, because after all, it's cliche, it's been said, but it's true that, we are human beings. We're not just human doings. And I personally, that's one of the things obvious to you, maybe not to our listeners, but I struggle with the most is constantly wanting to achieve and do, and kind of only viewing myself in that light. So, describe it from whatever perspective you want, but what has it been like for you personally over the last couple years? Not just running a business, because I think, it's absolutely incredible and inspirational. And I hope it's inspirational to anyone listening that, Easterday Creative, to make it clear, has not just, it's not just like sustained and kind of done the bare minimum over the last several years during one of the more challenging times in human history. But it's grown, it's thriving, it's maybe arguably in a better spot than it ever was before. So, how wrapped up in all that, like how have you seen yourself grow, as a person, as Megan, maybe as that role of business owner in your photography, just what's that personal growth been like for you? And because that obviously translates over into your work with the business, but just kind of, talk about yourself for a second.
You know how much I love talking about myself. That's a great question. One of the things, both business side, but definitely personally, that I've learned over the last several years, especially since owning a business, is resilience. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I struggle with anxiety and depression, as many of us do, but I've actually struggled with it my whole life. And I didn't realize that probably until, my mid-20s, why, and like where that was coming from. So I tend to have anxiety about the future, and, things being uncertain has always been really challenging for me. But throughout a pandemic, you have to buckle in and learn that no matter what is going to happen, like with your personal life, with your business, like you have to be okay with what that outcome is going to look like. It may not be what you envisioned at first, but it can still be beautiful. So, I've learned a lot of resiliency within my personal life. I've learned to be a lot better balanced in how I just view the world in general. I've been really grateful, especially with having this business where I've met people from all walks of life. I've gotten to grow and understand different perspectives, grow from those different perspectives. And I'm so grateful for that because, living in Ohio, you can live there for your whole life and there's nothing wrong with that. And we have many friends who have stayed there. We know many people that will stay there. Nothing wrong with that. But I think there's something to say when you get outside of the bubble that you've grown up in, whether it's, your church community or just the city you grew up in. Like I was in Canton, Ohio from 6 years old until we moved down here when I was 28, I think. I can't remember. We're getting old. So I was there for the majority of my life. And until, there's only so much opportunity to learn and grow when you're in that same space. And so moving here, learning that resiliency, learning to be better balanced and just growing from meeting new people has been so critical, I think, to my emotional and mental and spiritual development, which also plays a key role in being able to run a successful business. Because if I'm only focused on earning money, making a business roll on, if I don't integrate, some of the mental health practices that I've been really wanting to integrate within the business and, my spiritual practices and different things like that, I don't see it growing to be something that is going to be really impactful on the community around me. And that's very important to me.
Yeah, and I think you covered a couple really key concepts, which is you and I think it's safe to say that you and I have, nothing is new under the sun, so to speak, but you and I have had a very unique journey over the last 8 years in terms of jobs we've had, communities we've been involved in, places we've lived, all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I appreciate about you and about us is that we're always looking to be involved in we're looking to be active in the ways that we challenge ourselves. So that's not just an arbitrary pat on the back for us. We have millions of flaws, which we covered a little bit up top and could go into great detail. But I think that's one of our strengths, if I may be so bold, is that both of us on an individual level and then together, we're always looking for, okay, where am I uncomfortable? Where do I have to learn? Where do I have to grow? And then we're trying to go to those places or meet those people or put ourselves in those environments that aren't just, the easy thing to do or the easy spot to be in or the easy job to have or whatever it is, whatever the thing out there is, that's where we need to go to grow and to challenge ourselves and whatever. And I've seen you, to focus on you, I've seen you do that a lot with this business, with yourself personally. I think if it were up to you and maybe up to both of us, depending on the day, we would just be at home and never have to go out and talk to anybody, never have to interact. But it's been so cool to see the way you've just put yourself out there in the community and been vulnerable and done all those things that I think really do help a person grow. So just the idea of challenging yourself, and then that idea of you can't give what you don't have almost. So you focusing on mental health practices and whatever you can do to make sure that kind of you're in a good spot and working on yourself, giving yourself that kind of self-care and self-love, I think has a huge impact on the business. And, I'm somebody personally who's always believed that every single person has influence. That doesn't mean what it kind of means in the traditional modern sense where you have 200,000 followers on Instagram or whatever. But it's even if it's
certainly don't have that.
Hey, neither do I. I probably never will. You might get there, but But it's just more the idea of that even if it was just you and I and we're out on the road, we're just living our lives, whatever, that's our circle of influence, and just kind of treating that really well, doing the best we can with that, and taking care of ourselves so that when we're in that circle of influence, when we're around others, we can have a positive impact, and the business can have the positive impact that you envision it having and that I believe it has had. So let's talk about some of the work you do in the business. So talk to me about your focus on so it was primarily, weddings, couples, families, engagements, things of that nature. So talk to me more about your not renewed, but your kind of newer focus on working with brands, editorial work, women's empowerment sessions, boudoir, a myriad of different types of things. What prompted you to change and want to refocus on that type of work, and what gives you a passion for that work you do currently?
Back in 2020, I went to the Hybrid Co. conference. I might have mentioned it, the first one that we went to, or I was about to go to it, actually. That's crazy. I was about to go to my second time to this conference, the first one in 2019, in March of 2020, actually, is the very beginning, right before the world shut down. And while I was there, so the main focus, let me back up a second. The main focus at these events is to help photographers. So it's called the Hybrid Co. because there are people there who are film photographers, there are people there who are digital photographers, and then many of them are what they call hybrid photographers who both shoot digital and film. At that point, I was thinking I wanted to shoot more film. I was thinking that I wanted to work in more high-end wedding photography because I saw, there was a lot of opportunity there. I knew that it could eventually bring us in more income because, this is a business trying to grow that and all of it. But as I was sitting in a lot of the classes, which ironically it wasn't as focused on that this year. It wasn't as focused on the growing of your business, but more so renewing your passions and learning better mental health practices to help sustain your business. And I realized that wedding photography, the high end stuff just wasn't who I am, who I am. And I was fortunate enough to attend a couple of breakout sessions with people who are more focused on commercial photography. I was able to do, photograph some cool editorial things with, her name's Heather Nan. She helped, with her team, helped put together, this whole thing where we were shooting. And I just felt this fiery passion for getting to do that kind of work. And so when I came home from all of it, one, I was wanting to focus more on my mental health, grow that so that I could be a better business owner and, better spouse and, all that good stuff. But I realized that I wanted to start transitioning out of weddings. Not fully. I was open to doing, micro weddings, which is, significantly less amount of people or elopements. But I thought that, working with brands and working with commercial clients was going to be something that would be a better fit because I wanted my weekends back. I wanted to be able to have more of a, even though I didn't work in a 9-to-5 job, have more of a 9-to-5 space, which, I've been very fortunate to be able to do a little bit more over the last couple of years. But of course, then the world shut down and that kind of put a halt on those plans. So it's been a much slower burn. But that being said, it has given me the better opportunity to see what is going to fuel my fire, for lack of better words, because, it is a job. And I think a lot of us want to find passion and meaning within the work that we do. And I do struggle with that a lot. That was a big reason why I didn't want to do luxury weddings, because I just didn't see myself finding that meaning within and all of that. So that's why I kind of introduced a little bit more working with boudoir and empowerment sessions. I think that there is something to be said to help a person. I work more so with women, but help women to be comfortable in their own skin. The main focus isn't about how you look; it's about how you feel about yourself, and that is one of the ways that I've found a little bit more meaning within a photography business, because it can be said that it can be a little bit, if any of you that have been photographed or are photographers, it can be a little bit narcissistic, I guess is the word I'm looking for right now. Not to say that it's bad to have a little bit of that within you, but I found that it just felt very surfacey to me. So getting to have the side of things where I'm working with commercial clients where, I'm providing a product for them, providing a service as like my job, which I meet fantastic clients. Like I have wonderful clients, don't get me wrong. I love them. I love working with them. But having the empowerment side of things has really given me a newfound passion for what I do. And I want to see people heal. And I think that I am meant to be someone who helps other people heal, whether it may not be physically, but like emotionally and spiritually. I want to be a facilitator of that. And I think sometimes photography can do that, because you photograph, like specifically me, when I am photographing someone, I see them as a whole person. I see them as who they are, not just like what they look like. And my biggest goal is for them to look at those images and go, oh my goodness, I didn't realize, oh my goodness, I felt this weight lift off me just being here doing this. Like actually the other day, it wasn't even someone I was photographing, although I have photographed her before. We were at my friend Jess's apartment. She let us use it for our most recent Plant Batty boudoir day. And she let us hang out there and use her space while she was at work. And she texted me when she got home and she goes, there's this like, don't think I'm weird for saying this, but there's this like beautiful energy, like uplifting, joyful energy that was here when I walked in that wasn't there when I had left this morning. She's like, you guys brought all of that. And honestly, that's my goal, is when I'm in a space, I always tell people I try to leave a space better than what it was before like I arrived, not just physically, but I want it to be like healing and uplifting and bring joy to people's lives. And it was really affirming hearing that from someone not expecting it whatsoever to hear that from anyone ever, but it feels nice knowing that maybe you're on the right path, like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that was a pretty big confirmation for me, because as anyone does, you have those moments of doubt, like, is this what I should be doing? And so those little moments really, help you feel that you are doing what you need to be doing and keep pushing on.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Plant Baddie boudoir sessions that you do, which I think is a very genius and creative idea. And I know that was developed in partnership with a friend of yours. So talk more about that specifically, the Plant Baddie sessions, and then kind of expand on that, if you will, on, aside from Plant Baddie, so dive into that. But what are some newer creative ideas that you've innovated over the last couple of years, and working with others? And, how do you come up with those things? How do you innovate them? What are those partnerships or collaborations, or what does all that look like? Maybe in general, but definitely in light of the Plant Baddie sessions you do.
First, I have to say the way you just said Plant Baddie was like very Ohio, and that made me very happy.
Oh, talk more about the Plant Baddies.
Oh, what? That's not... No.
Is that Canadian?
Something. I don't know.
Well, I make a solemn vow right now to never do that accent on the podcast again, because I think it's a very muddled. I don't even know what it is.
It was very muddled. I liked it though. So Plant Baddie, my friend Alicia Martin of Plant Therapy Charlotte, she's one of those friends that I made through photographing them first. I actually connected with her.
And her and Chris are two of the friends that I've made because of you being my wife.
It's true. They are wonderful. And their kids are wonderful as well. We love spending time with them. So back in 2020, of course, Alicia had reached out about potentially doing headshots, and then had to pause on that. So then beginning of 2021, we did her headshot session in Marshall Park, actually. We brought a big old table, a bunch of her plants, and did some setup, and we had so much fun. And after that, I really don't know how it started developing, but we ended up getting together at her and Chris's house. We started spending more time together, and then we started kind of daydreaming about how we could work together, integrate plants into photography stuff. And I don't even know if it was her that said something, or maybe I said, like, what if we did plant boudoir? And she was like, that would be cool. And now we've done 4 of them since last year, and it's just been fun. I love collaborating with people in the community to not just benefit my business, but to help uplift theirs. I have a personality where I like to come alongside other people and help them improve upon, not to say that, what they're doing isn't already great, but help them grow their business, or, whatever thing that they are doing. I used to do that with nonprofits. I love being able to kind of come alongside, something was already going on, and, taking it to the next level. So I don't know if like adding plants to a boudoir session is necessarily innovative. I will say I've not seen many other people doing that, so I should probably like go register the Plant Baddie name. I called it first. Don't touch it. Just kidding, kind of. Yeah, I don't know. I just come up with random ideas. Like there's something that I want to do that is a healing workshop for women that I haven't had the time to work on, hence why I want to hire people to help me with things this year so I can work on those passion projects, because I want to use photography as a source of healing for people, because it has been a source of pain and hardship for a lot of people. Me personally, I've dealt with body image issues my entire life because of the media, and I want people to take back all of that nonsense that they've learned and, grow and heal and all of that. And I think that getting to do things like Plant Baddie and all my empowerment sessions really can do those kinds of things. So I have lots of dreams, lots of random ideas. It's putting pen to paper and getting the right people to help me is what's going to happen. And that's why I like working with people in the community.
Collaboration makes all of us better, and we can all add value to each other's passions and businesses and all that. Big reason why I'm still pursuing this podcast dream after all this time is a lot of what you shared about why you're doing Easterday Creative and the kind of the goals you have for working with your clients, and just wanting to add that value and make something that is, really great, that it's like better. The thing you make is better when you make it together as opposed to if you just kind of did it yourself. And it's just cool to see and I'll say this because I know it's not something you'd ever say about yourself, but it's cool to see the value that you do add to your clients. And it's been great to see, the positive reactions from clients across all the work that you do, how you elevate their brand or how you elevate maybe the way they view themselves or all that type of stuff. I think it's, to me, that's where it goes. Photography and what you do is super important in and of itself. But I think that's where you personally take it up a level, is all that stuff we talked about at the beginning about you focusing on your mental health and wanting to love other people and connect, be a connector, step out of your comfort zone, and all that kind of personal growth stuff, I think empowers you to then be empowering of others. And that's not a word I use lightly because it's a very important word to me, empowerment. But I think, you're definitely someone that even if we weren't married or I didn't have, kind of a personal stake in this to some degree, I would view you that way and think that of you, that you're an empowering person that most everyone, if not everyone who comes in contact with you, would walk away feeling uplifted and just have a better view of themselves, the world around them, whatever. I think that's been a big reason why the business has been able to thrive, in the midst of everything happening in our world, on a global scale, even in our personal lives over the last couple of years. It's been a lot. I mean, I think that's why it's been able to thrive is you're talented at what you do, the output, the work, but you're also extremely talented at just interacting with people, which, I think it's a big reason for the success. So speaking of your interaction with people and your clients, I saw a quote on your website, our website, I should say, referring to clients. You use the Leslie Knope quote from Parks and Rec, which I really appreciate. You say, "Each of you are a beautiful tropical fish, smart as a whip and cool under pressure." So what does that mean? Kind of how do you view your clients in general, whether it's working with brands or anything you do? Like, what are some of your goals and what's your vision for your clients? So what do you want them to coming away with, aside from the deliverables, the product? What do you want them to walk away with? And what does that quote even mean?
Well, you want them to walk away. Well, I want them to walk away with photos they like, yes, as any photographer would hope for. I want them to walk away, because I'm not always photographing a person. I'm not photographing their faces sometimes because I work with interior designers as well in an architecture firm. I photograph the things that they create. So when I am photographing either the person or the thing that they've created, like even products and things like that, I want them to feel confident, I guess, is probably one of the main things that I think about. I want them to walk away with the confidence that who they are is important, what they're doing is incredible, and the impact that they have on their audience or, their clients, their customers, is going to be meaningful. I want to capture their personalities, or, I guess we'll focus specifically on when I put someone's face in front of the camera. I want their personality to shine through. And it's not easy for someone to open up when they're on camera because it feels very uncomfortable. I personally don't love being in front of the camera. Ironically, that's why I'm behind the camera, but it's not a normal thing for people to do. I mean, it has become more common in this social media era, but for a lot of clients that I work with, they're not used to putting their face out there. So I want them to gain that confidence that who they are and what they're doing is meaningful and that they can have an impact on the people around them. And I want them to have some positive, for lack of better words, vibes coming out of those sessions, because it's a one moment in time where I'm with them. I may work with them again. I don't always have, second, third chances to work with someone, but if I'm able to, give them something, give them not just part of me, because, giving away part of yourself to a person can be draining, but give them something from, I believe in God, like giving them that kind of energy that can carry with them throughout the day, that maybe if they were dealing with something like crappy or shitty, I'm going to say shitty, whatever, I cuss, sorry mom, they deal with something shitty earlier in the day, I want them to walk away and have that like moment in time where they were able to like cast off all of that other garbage that they brought with them, and just have that through the rest of their day. Yeah. Does that make sense? I don't know.
No, that all makes perfect sense. That all makes perfect sense. And again, I would just reiterate, I think that's been a big reason why, things have worked out for you so far, is because you have that attitude toward people, and it's more than just doing a job for you. You want to do your job and do it well, but you want people to leave, their time with you having been better off for it, basically. What's something, and it can just be one thing, it doesn't have to be anything crazy profound, but what's something you've been learning about creativity in general?
That everyone is capable of being creative. I've had many people tell me, oh, I'm not creative, if they're not in what would be a classically considered creative entity. But I'll argue that everybody is creative. Like, to run a podcast, that takes creativity. To do an accounting spreadsheet crap, like that takes a lot of creativity. That I think that if we refocus on what it means to be creative, I think that people are going to have this ability to find more meaning within even the menial things of what we do, like washing dishes. That's a menial task, but there's some creativity involved with it. Like, what's going to be the best way to wash that dish and put it in the dishwasher in a way. I think reminding people of that, that just because they're not an artist, or, a photographer or a musician, that doesn't mean what they do lacks meaning or creativity. Like, that they still have that within them. And I think they just need to realize that it's there.
Very well said. We talk about goals a lot in terms of big picture, 5 years, 10 years. Where, in a perfect world, where is Easterday Creative 6 months from now, a year from now?
I'm going to be honest, I hate that question. That is one of I know a lot of people are really, really good at setting goals. I am someone who goes, I'm going to try to be very present in this moment and just work hard, put my head down, and do what I need to do to move forward. For me, because of my anxiety, I do have a tendency to, if I look too far ahead, I see all of the things that need to be done, and which makes my entire body shut down. Like, I can't focus. So I am more focused on the day-to-day, being committed to running a business. Next steps probably this year, in the next few months, are hiring somebody to help me out who may actually have that bandwidth to think beyond what, just the present moment. And maybe I'll have that capability when I have someone there to help me with things too. But yeah, I mean, long-term goals, obviously still being in business, working with, bigger, exciting brands. I love working with small businesses too. So you guys don't hear me what I'm not saying. I love working, with large companies. Like, it'd be cool to work for Madewell. Actually, I have photos on their website already because of Feminist Goods Co. Shout out to Lauren Harbury for trusting me to capture some of her brand shots. No, it would be cool to work with, companies that may have not seemed attainable at one time in my life. I'd love to have workshops for small business owners that's focused not on growing their business, but on, balancing, their mental health and, allowing themselves the grace that they need when they don't feel like they are where they're supposed to be in their business. Like, because the United States has this hustle culture nonsense that I don't believe is going to be sustainable specifically for small businesses, because we are so limited in the capacity of what we can do, especially if there's only a few of us working together. That's where I see more businesses fail, because they're doing too much too often and they're not getting the help that they need. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I would love to do. But right now for me, it's staying present and taking those tiny steps forward and taking it day by day.
What encouragement would you give to fellow photographers and entrepreneurs alike?
That's a very good question. Don't do it alone. Like, if you think that you can handle every aspect of your business, or you can just be by yourself and run your business at home alone, that's just not wise. We need people, regardless if it's people that are going to help you grow or if it's someone who's just going to be there to listen to you. Don't isolate yourself. We've been isolated a lot the last few years. What I found that has kept me and my head above water is by having people who have supported me in a variety of ways. Like, having you around, Corey, has, well, we've been forcibly stuck inside with each other a lot over the last few years, which can, make or break a relationship.
Listen, it's been all smooth sailing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Such a liar. It's not easy, but the people, I have other friends that I've made that will listen. So don't do it by yourself. I'm the kind of person who used to want to do it alone more often, because asking for help is very hard. I'm willing to give all of the help in the world, but I have a hard time asking for it. So I guess to sum up that rambling moment, is don't do it alone. Ask for help. Be willing to learn from other people who have done it before, because you do not have all of the answers and someone has had more experience than you. And there's always room to learn and grow.
Honestly, I couldn't have said it all better. That was so far from rambly. That was wise and intuitive. And no, but seriously, I don't like, so it's hard. So just whenever I feel like I'm rambling, it's because I'm more of a listener. So when I start talking, I'm like, oh no, where's it going? Oh no, it's coming out of my mouth. Oh no. That's why I have a podcast and you don't, because I definitely am way more in love with the sound of my own voice, which can be a character flaw, can be an asset depending on the occasion. But
you have a nice asset.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Okay, so last couple. We're here all night. Last couple questions, and honestly, this might be the most important question I've asked you the entire podcast. You and I have both, at various points, been consuming a lot of the old Batman movies. And
why?
We're talking Batman 1989 with Michael Keaton and the neck that can barely move, like the stiff motion. Batman Returns. Batman Forever, the Joel Schumacher films, Batman and Robin. So of those four, which one is your favorite and why?
I mean, I'd say probably the first of all of them, the one in 1989. However, the one that I remember the most is Batman and Robin, because of, being older, remembering things with it. And I was like in love with Robin at the time. Like, yeah, he was a babe. So I guess I'd have to choose that one. I feel like that, they're all very campy, which I adore. I love campy movies. I love Tim Burton. So the fact that he had his hands in a lot of those was awesome. But the fourth one is just over the top cheesy, and it makes me laugh. And, it's everything we need in this world sometimes.
Yeah, I just watched it last night, Batman and Robin, with the George Clooney Batman and Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the Mr. Freeze or whatever. And it is way over the top. The number of ice puns is numbering in like the 70s or 80s. It's a really high percentage of puns in that film. It's just wild. But yeah, I'd probably say Batman Forever personally, just because Jim Carrey's Riddler I was introduced to that at 6 years old, and it has stayed with me my entire life.
Well, you love Jim Carrey.
I do love Jim Carrey. Yeah. Who doesn't? that was just an over the top performance. I mean,
You did a great job.
yeah, it's phenomenal. I was watching something last night on YouTube that was pointing out how Val Kilmer's Batman, like his mouth is always hanging open in every shot. So if you go back and watch Batman Forever, just Val Kilmer has the mouth open. You won't be able to unsee
He's
that.
the most emotionless Batman, I think, in the entire series.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. When the new Batman came out, we were all for the Christopher Nolan franchise and all that, but it is amazing to just go back and rewatch the camp and the glory of those first 4 Batman movies. So
The Batman.
Yes, Michael Keaton, George Clooney, and Val Kilmer should all start a band and call it the Batman.
The
podcast is going off the rails.
I have nothing for that.
That means it's time to when Corey starts making really bad jokes that not even dads can appreciate. That's when it's time to start wrapping up. So, very last question for you: where can people follow your work, and how can they support you?
So if you are a social butterfly, you can follow me on Instagram at Easterday Creative. Easterday like the holiday, because that's our last name. That's why I make those lovely jokes. I am on Twitter, but I never use it. So, it's at Easterday Create because they didn't give me enough letters to actually spell out Easterday Creative. Facebook is also /Easterday Creative. And then finally, if you want to work together, my website is www.easterdaycreative.com. And you can kind of take a peek at some of, previous work, and you can contact me that way. It might be the best way for it, simply because I don't want to lose your inquiries and I want to keep track of you.
Well said. Well, thank you again so much for coming on the EasterPod, for being. Thank you for being. I guess I'm going to thank you for being my wife. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It is much appreciated on your part. Thank you for coming on, and truly, thank you for being a genuine inspiration to myself and so many others. I don't say that lightly. I'm proud to be your husband. I'm proud of the work you do, and I'm extremely thankful for you. So, thank you again.
Let me back to you. Let me back